I never expected a simple onion soup to reveal the heartbreaking truth about a family's bond. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The kitchen was filled with the smell of caramelized onions, sweet and savory, but the warmth didn't reach my heart. I watched as my mother stirred the pot, her face etched with worry lines deeper than any crevice in our old countertops. It was just the two of us that night, the vibrant clinking of utensils offering a false sense of normalcy that I felt my stomach knot as I glanced at her, her hands trembling slightly. She caught my eye, and a tense silence fell between us, thick like the broth simmering on the stove. "Are you all right?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. But she didn't respond. Instead, her eyes glistened just as the onions turned golden in the pot, holding back a flood of words, a torrent of emotions. After my father left, things changed. Our family crumbled like old bread. The laughter we once shared was silenced, replaced by the haunting echo of solitude. We moved to the city seeking a fresh start, but the aching void of loss loomed larger than any skyline. My mother worked long hours, her spirit dimming little by little. I wanted to heal that gap, to somehow fix us, but I felt so helpless. Tonight I could feel the weight of secrets swirling in the air. There was something unspoken simmering underneath the soup's surface, something dark and broken, like shards of glass hiding in a well-worn rug. I'd overheard snippets of conversations muffled behind closed doors, mysteries woven into the fabric of our lives. "We can't keep avoiding the truth," I heard her say to a shadowy figure on the phone. The soup was nearly done cooking, its rich aroma inviting yet foreboding. I was drawn to it, a moth to a flickering flame, heart racing as I reached for the ladle. Just as I lifted it from the pot, my hand shaking, the doorbell rang. It sliced through the tension and my heart stopped. Who could it be? My mother's fearful eyes met mine, a silent plea hanging between us. "Stay here," she whispered, her voice trembling, cracking like the fragile silence around us. My feet felt like lead as I took a step back. "What's going on?" I managed to croak, but she had already turned her back, the warmth of the kitchen replaced by the chill of uncertainty. Bracing myself, I could almost hear my own heartbeat thrumming in my ears. Time felt suspended, and the very air seemed to crackle with tension. I held my breath when she opened the door, and the surprise that awaited us sent shockwaves through my chest. I peered around her frame, straining to catch a glimpse of the unexpected visitor. What I saw shattered everything I thought I knew. Who was standing there? What truth lay ahead for us, wrapped in onion soup and secrets? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The figure at the door was cloaked in shadows, their face half obscured by the light spilling from the hallway. A chill sliced through the remnants of warmth in the kitchen as my mother's breath quickened. I could see her become smaller, the curves of her shoulders bending slightly under the weight of this visitor. Time stretched, and in that eternity, I tried to grasp the threads of my sanity, finding them slipping through my fingers like grains of sand. "Who is it, Mom?" My voice came out strained, anxiety threading through my words. She hesitated, her fingers curling around the doorframe like she was grasping for any semblance of strength. I could see her swallowing hard, her throat moving up and down like she was trying to blink away tears that were far too stubborn to retreat. But my plea hung unanswered in the air. Just give me a moment." She stammered at the door, her tone brittle. I felt the panic rise within me, a tide I could scarcely contain. Every scrap of normalcy I'd clung to was slipping away, and the uncertainty sent icy fingers crawling down my spine. Suddenly, the figure stepped into the light, revealing a face I hadn't seen in years. It was an older woman, strikingly familiar yet caught in the passage of time, wrinkles etched into her skin like lines on a map, each trace telling a story of joy and sorrow. My heart stumbled. "Aunt Clara?" I breathed, my eyes widening in disbelief. Her gaze fell on me, and for a moment we simply held each other as stare, the weight of unspoken words lingering. My mother stepped aside, shock and vulnerability etched across her face as she allowed Clara into our fractured home. Memories of summer spent together rushed back to me, laughter echoing against warm walls. Bright faces gathered around a dinner table far removed from the starkness of our reality now. "What are you doing here?" My mother's voice shook as she closed the door behind her sister. The warm scent of onion soup lingered in the air, but it was easily eclipsed by the tension enveloping the room. I could almost see the words unsaid swirl between us, like the steam rising from our unfinished dinner. "I came to see you," Clara said, her voice firm but gentle, like a sapling crushed in a heartless storm yet still resilient enough to stand. "I heard about how you've been struggling." "Struggling?" My mother scoffed, defiance trembling in her tone. "That's one way to put it." I felt the urge to hide, to retreat into a corner of the kitchen, away from the penetrating gaze of all this shared pain. But Clara's eyes softened as she looked at my mother, taking a step forward. "Please, Annette. I just wanted to help." "Help?" My mother spat the word as if it were poison. "Where were you when I needed you?" When he left." "Don't do this," Clara pleaded, her voice cracking. I watched the raw emotions wash over both of them, years of unresolved conflict simmering on the brink of eruption. I tried to interject, stepping closer. "What do you mean, Mom? What happened?" But the story was buried so deep, tucked away beneath layers of hurt and unresolved tension, that I wasn't sure if even the brightest light could unearth it. "Tonight isn't the right time," my mother said, her voice breaking. But inside, an ember of fear ignited. What had my father done to push her away from her own family? How much did Aunt Clara know? The weight of secrets was becoming unbearable. Clara stood there, her shoulders sagging. "I know you're hurting, both of you. But you can't continue on in silence. Not like this." Her voice was softening, an invitation wrapped in vulnerability as my mother turned away. Overwhelmed, I caught sight of the onion soup, forgotten and bubbling over on the stove, its rich flavors blurring against the growing chaos in the room. Before I could think, I reached forward to turn the flame off, but my hand trembled, fear gripping me. What if I couldn't hold this family together? The room fell into silence, interrupted only by the distant wail of sirens that seemed to mock our fragile moment. I looked at Claire and felt an urge to reach out, to grasp at this sudden awareness that perhaps, in the depth of our storm, there was kindness still flickering like a candle's flame. But just as I opened my mouth to speak, a loud crash came from the small living room, a shatter, a picture falling to the floor. And there it was, the painted family we used to be, splintered like our bond, lying broken at our feet. My heart raced as dread settled in, weaving a pattern of uncertainty through the air. In those few moments, I understood with shocking clarity. The truth we were guarding might be our greatest weapon, but it could also be the sharpest knife. Nobody moved, like we were caught in a frame of stillness, suspended in unknowing. Until eventually, Aunt Clara took a shaky breath, her voice a small murmur, "Annette, it's time." And just like that, as she said those words, I felt the foundation of everything I knew begin to tremble. The echoes of the shattering picture frame reverberated through the room, drowning out the tumultuous storm brewing within me. My heart thudded like a drum in my chest, each beat a reminder that this moment was more than just a simple family visit. It was a precursor to the turmoil that was about to unfold. I glanced at my mother, her face pale, yet I could not decipher the tempest raging behind her eyes. "What do you mean, Aunt Clara?" I said, my voice barely rising above a whisper, laden with a mixture of intrigue and dread. "What's time for?" My mother turned sharply, arms crossed protectively over her chest, the posture of someone preparing for battle. "No, Clara, don't you dare," she warned, her tone laced with urgency. But Clara's resolve did not waver. "Sometimes truths must be confronted if they are ever to heal," she said softly, her gaze unwavering despite my mother's mounting hostility. Silence encased us once more, a fragile stillness hanging in the air, filled with unvoiced questions and unresolved pain. In that moment, I realized I was holding my breath, waiting for the inevitable unraveling of words that could shatter the fabric of our family beyond repair. "Mom," I cried, the desperation seeping into my words. "I don't understand what's going on, but I can't keep living in this fog. Please don't push her away." The struggle of words fought for freedom in my mother's throat. I could see the vulnerability prowling around her, fear dancing in dark shadows behind her steely exterior. But Aunt Clara's eyes held a glimmer of steel mixed with warmth. Annette, please. You can't continue to carry this burden alone. I'm here now. You can lean on me. Lean on you. My mother's voice brimmed with disdain, resentment leaking into her words. Where were you when we needed you? When he left us? I could feel the air grow thick with tension, ready to snap. Aunt Clara took a cautious step toward her sister, the distance between them now a chasm filled with resentment and grief. You know I wasn't given a choice, Annette. I had my own battles. Battles? My mother interrupted sharply. You have no idea what battles look like. You don't know what it's like to feel abandoned. Tears brimmed at the corners of my eyes as I watched, helpless, my heart heavy with the weight of their history. Childhood memories cascaded through my mind, snapshots of laughter and family dinners tainted with an undercurrent of longing for a reconnection that felt increasingly impossible. Stop, I finally interjected, my voice trembling on the edge of desperation. Just stop. None of this helps any of us. They both turned towards me, their battle momentarily suspended, eyes piercing in their intensity. Mom, please, I want to understand. What happened? A long pause settled like a heavy blanket before my mother's gaze turned inward. Her face shuddered like an impenetrable fortress. I watched her struggle, a long breath escaping before she seemingly conjured the strength to speak. There are things you're not ready to hear, she began, her voice low and nearly inaudible. I can handle it, I pleaded, reaching out to grasp the threads of her resolve, desperate to pull her back to me. The quiet unraveling of our family felt like a ghost looming in the shadows, waiting for its moment to rise. Can you? She countered, eyes narrowing, a storm brewing within her depths. What if the truth fractures us further? I caught a fleeting glimpse of her vulnerability, my mother, beneath her defenses craving understanding, even as she recoiled from it. But Aunt Clara stepped forward, determination set on her weathered face. The truth has a way of revealing what's buried, Annette, she said. Maybe it's time to unearth it. As the steam from the onion soup continued to curl in the air, I couldn't help but notice the broken frame at our feet, the remnants of our past scattered like leaves caught in a whirlwind. The fabric of our family was frail, slowly unraveling before us, and I felt the ticking clock of inevitability begin to time our conversations even if we dressed them in mundane soup and memories shared. And just as I was about to urge my mother once more, hoping for that elusive breakthrough, a sudden sharp rap on the kitchen door interrupted us. What now? My mother's voice dripped with disbelief, and before anyone could respond, the door swung open, revealing a figure silhouetted against the dim corridor light, the outline sharp and defined. He stepped into our home, the impact suffocating. It was my father. Surprise morphed into dread. Anticipation met with the fear of being caught adrift in the already tempestuous current coursing through our family. My breath caught in my throat as the gravity of what was about to unfold pressed down on me, suffocating and unyielding. Surprise! He boomed cheerfully, but there was a dissonance in his tone that only deepened the chasm of what lay unspoken. I stared at him, disbelief mingling with the fear of the fallout to come, the hidden truth hovering like the onion simmering unsupervised on the stove. Today, this ordinary moment was careening toward something extraordinary. The fabric of our family was about to be irrevocably altered, and I was left teetering on the edge, ready to descend into the depths below. The atmosphere crackled with tension as my father stepped over the threshold, his presence a volatile bomb ready to detonate amidst us. The kitchen was suddenly a battlefield, vibrating with unspoken accusations and buried emotions. Aunt Clara stiffened, her eyes darting between my mother and my father, as if bracing for a collision. Meanwhile, my mother's facade of control faltered, giving way to a crack of vulnerability that seemed to radiate from her very core. Dad, I finally managed to utter, my voice barely more than a tremor. The fragile hope that maybe this moment could mend something started to break within me. His smile faltered as he scanned the room, a cacophony of emotions spread across our faces. My mother's fury simmering beneath her surface, Aunt Clara's hesitant support, and my own confusion and hurt. What's going on? He asked, feigning ignorance, but I could see the ripple of uncertainty that darted across his brow. We're just talking, my mother replied curtly, her voice sharp enough to slice through fragile ties. I felt the weight of secrets pressing against my chest, eager to be released. How dare you just show up here like this after everything? I thought I was welcome, he retorted, eyes narrowing, the defensive tone all too familiar. Isn't that what family does? Family. The word hung painfully in the air, rich with irony and the echoes of all we had lost. I shifted on my feet, desperately wanting to fix this splintered moment, to gather the shards of our broken history. But all I seemed to do was create more cracks. Just leave, Henry. You're not welcome here, my mother spat, her arms encircling herself in a protective embrace. This isn't your home anymore. His face fell, the bravado unraveling, revealing a man who was once steadfast but now appeared lost. I came here to see my daughter, he said, voice strained, to see both of you, to make amends. I stood in the eye of the storm, caught between them, feeling the gravitational pull of both sides threatening to consume me. Why now? I asked, eyes wide with a mix of hope and skepticism. Why would you come back now after all these years? The tension in the room thickened, pulsing like a living entity, drowning out my frantic heartbeat. My father shifted, his voice lowering a notch, almost timid. There are things you all deserve to know. Things I've kept hidden. If you think you can waltz back into our lives and play the concerned father, you're mistaken, my mother interrupted, her composure shaking with anger and betrayal. But I noticed a flicker of something else behind her eyes, a hidden fear. A fear of what he might illuminate. I know, Annette. I know I can't just fix things with an apology, he said quietly, an earnestness trapped behind the jagged edges of his choices. But you have the right to hear my side. Aunt Clara stepped forward cautiously, a woman unwilling to keep the fragile peace shattered. What side is that, Henry? Her voice tinged with both skepticism and curiosity. What could justify years of absence? What truth could possibly make this less painful? He hesitated, the moment hanging heavily in the air, before gathering himself, resolute. There's been an illness in the family, not ours, but close enough. I've been trying to help, it's complicated. But you deserve to know about your grandmother. She's in the hospital. A palpable silence followed his words, an invisible collision where hope and sorrow danced on the same thread, pulling every fiber of my being in opposite directions. My heart ached at the thought of her, the woman who was often referenced but rarely spoken of with warmth. The frail connection I had with her flickered at the forefront of my thoughts, teasing remnants of childhood stories threaded with laughter and wisdom. Why didn't you tell us? I found myself whispering, the rawness of our situation creeping in, unveiling wounds so deep I hardly knew they were there. Why wait? Why now? With a sweeping gaze, he turned to my mother, but she stepped back defensively, shaking her head, as if she could physically extricate what he had thrust upon us. I didn't want to burden you, he answered finally, pain straining his voice. You deserve to be free from the legacy of this dysfunction. But your grandmother, she might not have much time left. My mother's expression definitely cracked, and as the storm above her eyes darkened with conflicting emotions, a single tear slipped down her cheek, a vulnerability she rarely exposed. You've had years. You had years to make a choice, she cried, pouring years of resentment into every syllable, some of it directed at him, but much of it at herself, the choices she made, the life she had lived alone for so long. Before I could process the impact of his words, the weight of family burdens cascading upon us, I felt a gentle hand on my shoulder. Aunt Clara's touch was soft and grounding. It's a lot for all of us, but we must decide how we want to move forward. Her tone was calming, striving for stability amid chaos. Just then, with a sharpness that burst through the thrum of emotion, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, scanning the screen, my breath catching momentarily. A text lit up before me, snatching my attention like a thief in the night. Grandma is asking for you. We need to talk. My breath hitched, the realization crashing over me like the undertow of a turbulent wave. The heartache, the tempest of words yet to be spoken, and the legacy of fractured bonds surged beneath the surface of this crisis. I can't stay silent anymore, I blurted, my heart racing. We owe it to ourselves and to her to break the silence. We have to go to her. But as I turned to look at my father and mother, expecting anger or resistance, their faces shifted. They were suddenly both on edge, acknowledging my words, paving a path toward a shared reckoning. The air trembled with the potential for healing. Hope flickered hesitantly in their eyes, yet I knew the turbulent road ahead would be filled with challenges, and just as I stepped closer, ready to embrace the chaos of revelations, the door swung open once more, the suction of fresh cold air swirling unpredictably through the kitchen. An unexpected voice broke through the tension, one that ignited the already fraught moment with a jolt of uncertainty that could unveil even deeper scars. I heard everything. You need to know the truth from me. It was my brother standing there framed in the doorway, carrying the weight of secrets we had never known. The fractures of our past pushed further apart, like the very frame that lay broken upon the floor. The atmosphere shifted once more, laden with a mixture of dread and disbelief as my brother, Lucas, stepped into the kitchen, his presence like a shuddering breath drawn sharply in a moment of stillness. His face was set, eyes dark with unspoken burdens, and the scent of the outside world cold and unforgiving followed him in. What did you hear? My father's voice broke the heavy silence, thick with an underlying current of anxiety, and the flickering glow of old tensions and unspoken words. The moment hung in the air like a fragile sheet of glass, poised to fracture under the slightest pressure. I heard everything, Lucas replied, a tremor beneath his calm facade, the kind of tremor only someone who had spent years harboring secrets could muster. And I couldn't let another moment pass without speaking. There are things you all need to hear, starting with me. My mother turned towards him, her expression a mixture of confusion and desperation. What do you mean? She asked, her voice less assured now, fragile like paper. As he squared his shoulders and took a step forward, I noticed that he too was caught in the web of our family's collective pain. There's something you don't know about our grandmother, he began, the weight of his words dragging even the air around us deeper into the shadows. What could you possibly know that we don't? My father's defensiveness was palpable, a wall built of years of resentment, still unyielding even in the face of revelation. Lucas inhaled deeply as if bracing himself for the onslaught of emotional turbulence. It's not just about her illness, he said, voice steadier now. It's about the choices that brought us here, about the secrets she kept from all of us, secrets that could change everything. My heart raced, the urgency of his words resonating in the pit of my stomach. What secrets? I managed to ask, desperate to unravel the threads binding us to a past shrouded in confusion and hurt. He exchanged a brief glance with Aunt Clara, who looked on, her face an etched canvas of concern. You've always been told that our grandmother was a dutiful mother and a good person, Lucas continued slowly, carefully. But what if I told you that she was the reason for our family's dissolution? That her actions contributed to so much of the pain we carry? No, my mother exclaimed, her voice cracking, the horror of such an accusation splintering through her heart. That can't be true. But it is, Lucas pressed on, his voice now laced with urgency. I found letters. They weren't just memories, they were confessions, choices she made that impacted all of us. I never wanted to believe it, but I can't ignore it any longer. She kept you and Dad fighting, she thrived on it. And now she's in the hospital, maybe looking for forgiveness. Or perhaps she thinks she can still control us from her sickbed. The emotional tempest that swirled around the room crackled with a fresh intensity. Aunt Clara's eyes widened, and I felt the shudder of our family's history roiling beneath the surface. An angry sea of regrets and unprocessed pain. Why would you keep this to yourself? I demanded, a mix of fear and frustration surging forth. Why bring it up now? Because I didn't know if it was true, or how it would change us, Lucas admitted, his voice dropping to a whisper, the words heavy with the weight of all the guilt he had harbored for years. But just like all of you, I need to find a way to break free of her shadows. My father's gaze turned distant, moving through waves of realization, processing Lucas's revelations. This is insane, he muttered, staggering as if the very ground beneath him had given way, and I felt my own footing slipping. Is it, though? Lucas countered, his voice rising with an unheard desperation. We've been drowning in mistrust and half-truths. Grandma's silence has poisoned our understanding of who we are, of what family truly means. As the silence stretched, I could almost hear the creaking of long-forgotten memories flickering to life in the dim corners of my mind, whispers of fleeting laughter and caution, tones that had blended into the chaos of our lives. I closed my eyes, trying to anchor myself against the sudden tide of confusion. Well, we can't keep ignoring this, Aunt Clara interjected, stepping away from the kitchen counter, her hands gesturing emphatically. We owe it to each other, to everyone who came before us, to confront whatever's left unspoken. We cannot heal if we remain in the dark. Maybe our grandmother thought she was protecting us, my mother lamented, her posture softening in the face of revelation, battling between denial and the potential for truth. Maybe she thought this was best. Or maybe she just ran away from the consequences of her choices, Lucas replied, the raw edge to his voice unraveling what remained of our already fragile grasp on stability. I squeezed my eyes shut tighter, torn between the pull of familial loyalty to a woman I barely knew and the stirring urge to uncover the terrifying unknown. The thought of Grandma's hospital room loomed ahead, a crepuscular horizon filled with both dread and anticipation. I need to see her, I said suddenly, conviction surging in an unexpected wave, echoing through the remnants of silence. We all do. We need to confront what's breathing life into this torment. My mother's eyes filled with conflict, a storm brewing within her as my father shifted restlessly, torn between his past and the specter of a possible reconciliation. But before anyone could respond, a soft chime from my phone interrupted us. As I looked down, my breath caught once more. Another message had arrived. You need to prepare. You're not going to like the truth about her. My heart sank as uncertainty slithered into my thoughts, revealing the lurking shadows of secrets yet to be unearthed. Authenticity rang in the air, but the thrill of discovery was tainted with an undercurrent of dread, the kind that hinted at fractures deeper than our wounds could ever express. Whatever happens next, I whispered to myself, but my voice carried through the kitchen, laced with determination. We'll face it together, even if the truth shatters everything we thought we knew. But as I looked at my family, the faces I loved, the voices that echoed in my heart, a blend of history and turmoil, I felt the weight of the unknown tightening around us, ready to unveil more than any of us could bear. And as the tension hung in the air, I realized we were at the mercy of truths long buried, poised to break the fragile thread binding our fates together or apart. The tension in the kitchen lingered like unshed rain, each breath weighted by the words yet to be spoken. I stared at my family, their faces etched with confusion and fear, and though we were united by blood, the chasm of our hurt and uncertainty felt insurmountable. Lucas took a step back, his outburst hanging in the air like smoke from a dying flame. Lucas, we need to talk about this, Aunt Clara said softly, her voice breaking the spell of unspoken fears. Her hands trembled slightly as she clasped them together, as though grounding herself before diving into the chaos. We need to know everything. Everything. My father's voice was cold, disbelief coating his words. And what exactly does everything mean? Secrets that could rend our family apart for good? We've already been torn apart, Lucas shouted, the layers of his composure unraveling with each word. Not seeing the truth is what's kept us paralyzed. We owe it to ourselves, to everyone who's hurting. Why now? My mother whispered, water pooling in her eyes. Why not sooner? Lucas ran a hand through his tousled hair, a gesture of frustration mixed with regret. I didn't want to believe the worst about her. I didn't want to feel this awful weight of betrayal. But she wrote things that show who she really was, who we really are. The unsettling image of our grandmother's frail body in the hospital crept back into my mind, the implications of Lucas's words wrapping around my heart like barbed wire. What did she write? I forced the question out, feeling a dread settle into my stomach. Before Lucas could respond, another flutter pinged through my phone. Unbidden, I reached for it, heart racing as I saw yet another message. The truth lies in the soup. You'll see. What is it? My mother asked as she noticed my reaction. It's just a message. My voice trailed off, entangled in confusion. Someone wants me to look for something? Lucas's brow furrowed, the urgency of his words colliding with the peculiarity of my phone's message. The soup? What does that even mean? I don't know. I felt a surge of exasperation at the cryptic response. Frustration coalesced with dread as I realized our familial ties were straining under an unseen pressure, each text like a brick added to our already burdened walls. Look, the soup, it's what Grandma used to make for us, Aunt Clara interrupted, her brow furrowing as realization flickered in her eyes. Her onion soup, the recipe she claimed was our family's secret. I could practically hear my mother's heart race at the mention of that iconic dish. I remembered how the scent would waft through our home, its warmth inviting and familiar. But now the thought felt tainted. But what could it reveal? I don't know, Lucas admitted, but if it was as important to her as those letters, maybe it's worth investigating. Our conversation dissolved into unproductive speculation, and the more we spoke, the more I could feel the wind shift, carrying us toward something uncertain and burdensome. Tension hung thick in the air as I felt misplaced loyalty toward a woman I hardly knew but had spent my childhood revering. Yet beneath that reverence lay the fear of discovering something I might never be able to forgive. As if sensing my struggle, my mother gently placed a hand on my shoulder. "We'll go together if that's what you need. Whatever we find, we'll face it as a family." The warmth of her hand was reassuring, yet I couldn't shake the lingering uncertainty haunting my heart. We had been holding our breath for so long, hoping the answer would exhale itself into something whole and beautiful, only to be confronted with jagged fragments of our existence. "Perhaps it's time to peel back the layers," Lucas said softly, almost an echo of the past swirling through the kitchen, and I could see my family stirring with reluctant courage. We shared a long glance, a small moment of solidarity amidst our collective fray. It was apparent that our journey to Grandma's house would not only be about confronting the past, but also about unraveling the layers of our identities that had been obscured by the weight of our histories. As we prepared to leave, I could feel the lingering pressure coiling in my chest, a fusion of hope tinged with an acute sense of fear. When we finally stepped out into the late afternoon air, the chill wrapped around us like an unwanted embrace, intensifying our resolve. Driving to Grandma's, silence clung between us, each heartbeat echoing against the confines of the car. My fingers gripped the steering wheel, the worn leather cool against my palm, while memories of how the sun lit up our grandmother's humble kitchen danced in the periphery of my mind. It wasn't until we reached the outskirts of the hospital that another message pinged. "They're waiting for you. Prepare for everything to change." The ominous words slithered down my spine, a chill breaking the semblance of resolve I had built. I barely noticed my parents' murmurs or Lucas's attempt to ease our rising anxiety. All I could focus on was the nagging sensation that whatever awaited us behind those hospital doors could alter the fabric of our family forever. It was here, in the world's cold grip, that we would confront the echo of our past, ready or not. And as I stepped out of the car, uncertainty poured over me, a shadowy figure stretching ahead and ready to reveal not just the bitterness we had endured, but an even more profound heartbreak that might finally shatter the fragile bonds securing us to the truth we had both sought and feared. The sterile smell of antiseptic filled the air as we took hesitant steps into the hospital lobby. Each beep of the equipment drifted through the halls, a rhythm of life and death weaved together, while the flickering fluorescent lights cast an unnatural pallor over everyone present. My mother's fingers intertwined with mine, offering a shaky comfort as we pushed through our anxiety, but the uncertainty weighed heavier than the plastic chairs lining the waiting area. "We need to go to her room," Lucas said, breaking the silence that nestled in around us. His voice trembled slightly, revealing both his dire intent and deep-seated fear. I could see how dearly he clung to the hope that Grandma might still hold the answers we desperately sought, yet shadowed beneath that hope was a whisper of doubt, a fear that perhaps we were about to unearth a haunting legacy. "Right. Let us do this," I replied, my throat dry and scratchy as the words escaped me. My heart sank further as we moved toward the nurse's station. I could see the worry etched in their faces, and each glance a tug at my gut. What were they anticipating that we weren't? "Room 308, the nurse directed, her eyes meeting mine, filled with a softness that was reassuring but also full of foreboding. The walk down the hall felt simultaneously like a march toward destiny, and a retreat from comfort. No one spoke, each footfall echoing in the surreal quiet. We paused before the door, and I took a moment to steady myself, pressing my ear against the wood. The quietness felt almost unnatural, an ominous sign that the woman we were about to encounter might be a shadow of the vibrant person who had filled our childhood with warmth and wisdom. I took a deep breath, steeling my resolve and knocking softly. "Grandma?" I murmured, pushing the door open with trepidation. The room revealed a cocoon of white linens and sterile instruments. The rhythmic sound of a heart monitor pulsed steadily, a reminder of life lingering in fragile form. My grandmother lay there, her frail body dwarfed by layers of blankets, her hair a halo of silver against the stark white pillow. Yet her eyes, still sharp with purpose and clarity, flickered open as we entered, a smile breaking the tension of uncertainty in the room. "Ah, my dear," she whispered, her voice a fragile thread that wove through my heart. "I wondered when you'd come. I've been waiting." Her gaze was searching, a deep well of knowing somehow emanating strength. It felt as if she could intuit the whirlpool of conflict swirling around us before we even spoke a word. My mother hurried to her side, enveloping her in a gentle embrace, while Lucas and I stood frozen in place. "I brought the soup recipe for you," Lucas finally managed, a contradiction of vulnerability and defiance in his eyes. "We wanted to know if you really wrote those letters." Grandma's expression changed, the soft smile fading slightly. "Those letters," she mused, glancing toward the window, "lost in memories I could not truly grasp. They were meant to shield you from pain, dear one. But life has a way of uncovering truths we cannot hide from." I could feel my heart pounding, a coiled tension thrumming in the air between us. "Grandma, the soup. What does it mean?" She looked at me, her eyes penetrating, as if she weighed the words before deciding their worth. "The soup is not merely a recipe, dear. It carries our family's secrets, the joy we have shared and the sorrows that threaten to divide us." As I processed her words, my phone buzzed again, the shrill sound slicing through the fragile peace of the moment. I nearly flinched, reaching for it, a jolt of urgency overpowering my hesitation. "You need to hear the truth from her. Now, before it's too late." "Just one moment," I said and stepped back, isolating myself from my family's circle, feeling the weight of the world upon my shoulders. "I need to take this," I murmured under my breath, feeling an inexplicable dread swelling within me as I read those words. The pull of something transcendent wrenched me away from the intimacy of the space. "Who is it?" Lucas asked, watching me with concern. "It's just someone checking in," I replied, deflecting the question as I glanced back at Grandma. But the urgency of the cryptic message gnawed at my insides, and my mind raced. What if this was the tipping point, the moment our fragile family thread would unravel? Turning back toward Grandma, I pressed, "Please tell us what you know. I need to understand. Every part of us could hinge on it." For a moment, Grandma's gaze fell, and I could tell she struggled with some emotion held back by the pallor of fate painting the air between us. "You are right to seek the truth, but be warned. What we uncover may not bind us as you hope. It may instead test your very foundations." "Divide us?" My heart clenched at the implications, a shivery thrill racing down my spine. Perhaps we were chasing shadows that would only deepen our divisions. As I stared into her eyes, urging her to continue, the weight of my phone lingering in my pocket seemed heavier than the knowledge we were seeking. What if, in a ghostly twist of fate, the resolution lay not just in the letters or the soup but in the very act of confronting the truth? Time stood still, and beneath the surface lies an uncharted sea of pain and healing we had yet to dip our toes into. I heard my breath catch, anticipating a revelation that could break the very fabric of our familial bond, but just then, my grandmother's expression shifted. A flicker of panic danced across her features. "They've come for me," she breathed, a tremor in her voice as if she unraveled with her own haunting realization. "We must hurry. There's something I need you to see before." Just as her words spilled into the air, the door swung open, revealing a dark figure silhouetted against the light, an unexpected visitor whose presence shattered our fragile moment. "Is she here?" he demanded, a sense of urgency palpable in his voice. My heart plummeted, tangled in fear and disbelief. Who was this man and why was he here now? The intruder's silhouette loomed larger as the light spilled into the room, casting harsh shadows against the walls. I felt a chill creeping down my spine, panic settling in like a heavy fog. My grandmother's hand tightened around my mother's, and I could see the flicker of recognition and dread in her eyes. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice shaking barely above a whisper. A storm of emotions churned within me. This was supposed to be a moment of clarity, a moment to piece together the threads of our family history. Instead, we faced an unfamiliar face bringing fresh uncertainty. "More importantly," my grandmother said, her voice steady again though it trembled beneath the weight of her pained expression, "why have you come?" The man stepped further into the room, allowing us to see him clearly. Tall and imposing, his features were sharp, the lines of worry etched deeply into his skin. His eyes were dark pools devoid of warmth. "I need to speak with you about the letters, Helena," he said, addressing my grandmother directly. "Time is running out." The name sent a ripple through me. Helena was a ghost we had only just begun to chase, yet here was someone who seemed all too entwined with her past. "What do you know about the letters?" I asked, stepping closer, drawn by a mixture of dread and obligation to protect my family. "More than you can imagine," he replied, his attention flicking between us, my grandmother, my mother, and me, as though we were pieces on a chessboard. But as it stands, this isn't a conversation for young ears. No, my mother said, her voice resolute as she instinctively shielded my grandmother. If there's something to be revealed, we will hear it together. We're all in this. The man hesitated, seeming to weigh her sincerity against urgency before he sighed. Then you all need to prepare yourselves. What I'm about to share doesn't just concern your grandmother, it involves your entire lineage. The soup recipe was just a cover, a way to hide the truth. It binds you more than you realize. I could feel the ground shift beneath me as I tried to absorb his words. The soup? How? What truth? Grandma's eyes darted to the window, as if capturing a fleeting glimpse of daylight before her dark past was brought crashing to the forefront. You have to trust that the truth could tear us apart. Yet it may also give us a chance to heal, she replied, the conviction in her voice unwavering even as the tremors of fear coursed through us all. We'll manage, I murmured, gripping the side of the bed, harnessing whatever strength I could muster. We've always managed before. The man inclined his head, respect mingling with a certain sorrow that echoed in the room. Then listen carefully. Your family bears a deep-seated secret that spans generations. Our shared past carries wounds that could resurface. The letters were never just words. They were the essence of choices made, a judgment upon our family's understanding and forgiveness. What choices? I pressed, overwhelmed by the weight piling upon my heart like layers of lead. They involve love, hatred, betrayal, and yes, the recipes that held memories as they guarded truths, he said, each word heavy with meaning. Your grandmother made choices to protect you, but those choices came at a cost. A cost that may show itself in ways unforeseen. Just as I opened my mouth to question more, my phone let out another sharp buzz, vibrating against my thigh as if it were an electric pulse urging me to focus. But my mind was racing, fighting against a tide of revelation and fear. Your truth is buried in the last letter. A letter your grandmother hasn't written but knows exists. These walls keep more than your grandmother's history. They keep yours too. Where is it? Lucas asked, surprisingly calm despite the chaotic energy in the room. How do we find it? His question hung heavy in the air, laden with expectation. The man tilted his head slightly, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. It's hidden within family heirlooms, the very soup tiles that line your kitchen's foundation. It's there, I've seen it. But unearthing it might lead to more than you anticipate. My breath hitched. The thought of searching through the memories our family's culinary artwork. The joy in the shadows seemed both daunting and poignantly sacred. Why now? Why tell us this? My voice cracked, sorrow stitching through the urgency of my questions. Because, he said softly, the time for secrets has passed. You need to confront your family's legacy before the walls crumble under the weight of what you do not understand. I'll be waiting for you when you're ready. With those final words, he turned to leave, pausing at the threshold, allowing the dim light to frame his figure. And do not forget, not all truths will comfort you. Some truths might even ignite darkness in the bond you share. The room fell silent, the thrum of uncertainty settling like dust. My grandmother's eyes shifted from me to Lucas, a flicker of sorrow mingling with fierce determination across her features. Before I could grasp the enormity of it all, the door creaked closed behind the man, leaving us trembling in the wake of his haunting weight. Will we be able to face it? I wondered aloud, my heart fluttering with doubt. Grandma swallowed hard, her gaze steadying my racing thoughts. We can only hope that together, we possess the courage to confront the truth, regardless of the fallout. But I see shadows in your eyes, dear. Has something else been waiting for you outside these walls? An inexplicable chill snaked up my spine. And in that moment, my phone buzzed yet again, a silent flurry of notifications pouring in. I hesitated, another aura of heaviness building within me as I glimpsed the name on the screen. It was alarming, urgent. I need you to come home now, the message read. Home. The thought of home brought heartache and longing. But hovering over my emotions was an unsettling sense that something was about to shift irrevocably. A new revelation settled within me, obscured by the weight of the past but swirling with potential for a path forward. What could possibly await us if I dared to confront the truth, if we dared? As my heart raced with an array of unfamiliar emotions, I knew one thing. Everything I believed about my family was about to be rewritten. The morning sun cast timid rays through the remnants of night, illuminating the shadows pooling in the corners of the room. My fingers traced the edge of the soup tiles, where years of warmth and memories intertwined. With each brush of my skin against the cool surface, I felt a strange nostalgia swell within me, but was drowned in an unsettling rush of uncertainty. I glanced at Grandma sitting in her quiet corner, her gaze lost in the depths of her thoughts. What have we hidden? I whispered more to myself than to anyone else. My mom stared out the window, lost in contemplation as if searching for answers in the shifting clouds. Lucas remained still, an unusually anxious silence wrapping around him like a shroud. Maybe we should go through the heirlooms today, Lucas offered, breaking the tension with a voice that sounded both hopeful and anxious. See if we can uncover something before news from home changes everything. His words landed heavy in the air and resonated like a tolling bell in my heart. The text that demanded my attention nagged at my thoughts like an untuned string vibrating with tension. The urgency entwined itself with the revelation of our family's secret, and I feared what lay ahead if I chose to step into the unknown. What if we find something we're not ready for? My voice faltered. Grandma's eyes met mine, determination threading through her features. We must be brave. It's better to face it together than be haunted by what we don't know. Might as well dive in, I muttered, though fear gripped my chest. The thought of sifting through old, dusty items brought an overwhelming sense of dread. Each piece could reveal pieces of a family puzzle, or shatter the foundation we had worked so hard to build. And the stillness, I felt my phone vibrating again, burning against me like an unquenchable flame. Ignoring it for a moment longer, I stood, taking a breath as I began to gather courage. Let us start with the attic. It's where Mom and I found Grandma's old recipes before. I turned to my mother, who had shifted in response, finally breaking free of her trance. Good idea, she replied, her voice steadier than I felt. And just as we were about to step toward the darkened attic door, my phone's persistent vibration became impossible to ignore. With a heavy heart, I glanced at the screen. My blood ran cold. The message from my brother Sean was more alarming now. You won't believe what has happened. They found him. The weight of dread settled in my gut. My brother fighting his own battles in a world I couldn't understand was implying something dangerous, something that would inevitably drag the remnants of our family into chaos. I didn't know what he meant, but the words twisted a knot in my heart. I have to take this, I said, retreating to the shadows of the hallway. The conversation with Sean erupted like an uncontained fire. It's bad, Claire. I heard it from the police. They found something that ties to the past, he rushed, his voice quavering with urgency. The tremor echoed my own. What did they find, Sean? I gripped the phone tightly, unable to shake the fear that this was going to change everything. What past are you talking about? I can't explain everything over the phone. Just meet me at the park. Please just don't tell Mom or Grandma. It's not safe for them, he pleaded. And that single note of concern for our family made my heart ache. All the buried secrets that had lingered ominously in the air snapped into focus as I gave him a silent promise. A promise that no matter how much it hurt, we needed to confront whatever this truth was together. When I returned to the room, the atmosphere felt palpably different. My family was still huddled around the attic door. Anticipation etched into their features, their resolve stealing towards discovering our shared past. I'll be back soon, I murmured, not fully able to articulate the tension gnawing at my insides. There is something I need to take care of first. Wait, Claire. Grandma interjected softly, her voice gravelly yet concerned. Are you sure you're okay? We can put everything on hold. I want you to stay safe. My heart swelled with love for her, but my instincts whispered that I couldn't let this moment slip through my fingers, that I needed to confront my brother's fears and whatever darkness danced on the fringes of our family's history. I'll be okay, Grandma. Promise. Just wait here. As I stepped outside, I took a deep breath, the scent of cold air stirring the remnants of morning's chill. I could hear birds chirping, life continuing on outside the gravity of our home. But within me was a storm swirling, and I wasn't entirely sure of the path ahead. Meeting Sean would change everything. I could feel it in the marrow of my bones. Whatever they found could tie into the tiles, the letters, the love and betrayal woven through our family history. But as I walked, an icy dread slithered through the air. a silent foreboding of the secrets that would soon wash over me. And what if they were interlaced with a truth so monstrous that it would threaten to unravel not just my family but the very fabric of who we were? Uncertainty thrummed beneath my skin as I drew nearer to the park, an innocent setting that would soon become the cradle of revelation. I squared my shoulders, ready to confront the truth that awaited me, all the while wondering if I had the strength to embrace it. My family's legacy was on the line, and I had the gnawing feeling that I might emerge from this meeting forever changed. And just like that, standing on the precipice of discovery, I entered the unclear path that loomed ahead, one that promised to rip the seams of our familiar connections wide open, thrusting us into the throes of a history we thought we understood. The sun bathed the park in a warm hue, but the light felt foreign as I approached Sean at our usual meeting spot. He stood with shoulders hunched, each flicker in his posture a sign of some hidden dread. My heart raced. I could feel the weight of our family's fractured legacy pressing down on me, 1,000 questions swirling in my mind like autumn leaves caught in a whirlwind. "Sean," I said, forcing my anxious breath to steady. "What's going on?" As I reached him, I caught his eye. The pain was raw, layered, a wound still fresh and festering. "Claire, you need to know I overheard something from the police last night at the station. They found evidence. Something that connects back to Grandma," he said, his voice trembling as if every word bore the weight of a secret too heavy to hold. "What evidence?" The urgency in my words betrayed me, but I couldn't hold back. The vortex of unresolved feelings and the undercurrents tugging at our family screamed for clarity. He took a deep breath, bracing himself. "It's a box filled with old family mementos, letters that belonged to Grandma. They found it hidden away in the storage unit Dad used to rent. Weiss Investigations has been piecing it all together." I felt the ground shift beneath me, my mind racing. What were they doing with it? "Do you think it has something to do with?" My voice trailed off, caught in the implications of his revelations. "Maybe. It's not just about her." Sean's eyes searched mine, imploring me to grasp the enormity of what lay ahead. "They suspect it goes deeper, hidden truths that could rock our family to the core." "Deeper?" I echoed, not quite comprehending what deeper might symbolize. A heaviness settled upon my chest. "You mean connections to Dad? To us?" He nodded, jaw trembling. "They think there is a whole hidden past, Claire, things we never knew about ourselves, about Grandma's choices and about our roots. This could explain everything, the pain, the secrets, the division." A knot twisted in my stomach. I flickered back to my grandmother's hospital room, and the determination she summoned. Did she know all this? The secrets hidden behind recipes, love letters, and faded photographs? "Claire, we have to face these truths together," he said, his resolve breaking through the worry in his voice. Before I could respond, an unexpected wave of warmth washed over me, a feeling I hadn't anticipated. A memory unlocked, a soft laugh ringing through the warmth of our old kitchen, Grandma stirring soup, reminding us that every ingredient tells a story. And now that soup, that recipe, held shards of truth too precious to ignore. "Let us gather the family," I suggested, feeling a quiet sense of purpose bubbling within me. "If there are hidden ties, we need to face them as one. We owe it to ourselves and to Grandma." Sean nodded, relief spilling into his eyes. "But will they be ready?" "They don't have to be," I responded, my voice firm. "We need to lead this together." As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows upon our path, we made our way back home, determination sparking in my chest. Every step felt laden with the gravity of the impending revelations, but also with a flickering hope that maybe, just maybe, this challenge could breathe new life into the fissured ties that formed the essence of our family. In silence, we walked side by side, finding strength in each other's presence. Together we would untangle the web of our history, the brimming secrets buried away, and the love that has remained steadfast, fighting against the shadows of our past. As we reached the front door, I hesitated, noticing how the light had shifted. I could feel Grandma's presence inside. Her feisty spirit echoed through the walls, inviting yet mysterious, as if the house was awaiting our return. With a prideful thrust of courage, I pushed the door open and stepped into the dim glow of the living room. "Everyone," I called, the hopeful vibration in my voice wafting through the air. It felt new, an announcement that was both a promise and a warning. My family's faces turned toward me, a mixture of confusion and cautious anticipation lining their features. Tension coiled around us, thickening in the silence. "Let us talk," I said, looking at each of them in turn, waiting for them to gather around, united against the monolith of our past. And that was when I saw it. The forgotten soup tiles gleamed faintly, the kitchen beckoning us closer as if revealing promises long buried and whispering remnants of connection. I felt that strange connection pulling me back, leading me toward an understanding that could bridge the chasms in our family. As the warmth enveloped me, I resolved to break the surface, buoyed by love and hope. We gathered around the kitchen, the tiles surrounding us a reminder of our lineage, of the laughter, tears, and love that had once filled this space. Together we would dive deep between the layers of memories and revelations and uncover our truth. Whether it brought us closer or tore us apart, we would face it. The first step toward healing was uttering the words aloud, the truth we had buried. Together I began, a flicker of warmth igniting in my heart. Let us begin the journey to understand who we really are. In that moment, standing before my family, I knew we had a chance to mend, to reconnect, to forgive, all through the rich history we would unravel together. And it would start tonight. Even as echoes of uncertainty drifted in the air, one thought remained aflame within me. Every truth unearthed leads us to understanding, and every secret revealed brings us one step closer to becoming a family once more.